So the big question is this: how do passionate golfers like you and I develop a stock shot day in and day out? A stock shot that's as reliable as the sun coming up in the morning. That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. Welcome to Stock Shot Secrets.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Stock Shot Club. We are talking about something that is going to be amazing tonight, but if you can, like always, can you guys tell me in the chat, because I see you guys up here, if you guys can hear me okay? If that would be all right. Can someone tell me if they can hear me all right in the chat, just to make sure the sound is working? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Matt, and thank you, Mr. Chris. Okay, we're also waiting just a few more minutes as we have to pile in a ton of people because there is a lot of people sitting in the waiting room. So we are doing that, and we're actually, for the Stock Shot Club guys and girls, thank you guys for being here. But because of the fact that what we are talking about is so important, and I mean, I am 100%, I told my my buddy Dominic, this is something he's never even heard me talk on. I've only talked on this twice because my wife and I, we went to Scottsdale about 3 weeks ago, and I was sitting there, and Scottsdale is kind of where my home was when I was playing professional golf. And I was sitting there thinking and reflecting and had like some massive epiphanies. And epiphanies meaning like it was starting to connect dots, right? Of like, why do players truly hit it good on the range and then they hit it bad on the course? Why is it that like out of nowhere you can have a shot where it's just like, where did that come from? Like, I haven't hit a shot like that all day. I actually had a guy like that came in the other day. It's like you're going around all day playing great, and then you hit the one shot that's like, bam, it's out of bounds. And what we are talking about tonight is about, and this is why it's so important, because it's June, the Memorial's in town, like you're playing golf, and this is going to allow you to play up to your potential, which every single person on this webinar and on Instagram, every single person on here needs to hear this message, which is why I appreciate you guys being at Stock Shot Club, but it was so important that I was like, hey, Instagram people, you have to come in and we're going to give it to you for free this time because you should, because it's going to help everything. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to pose it as a question. And I want you guys in Stock Shot Club to tell me the answer. What do you guys think every single tour player shares? There is a lot of different golf swings, right? Like you have steep, shallow, steeps. You have Ricky Fowler, who's like shallow and then steep. Like you have Matt Wolff. You have Adam Scott. Tons of golf swings. But they all share one really, really, really important attribute. In the comments, let's hear some guesses of what you guys think it is. Pre-shot routine. They believe in themselves. These are all true. They hit the center of the face. Routine again. Tempo. Any other guesses? I'm sure that you guys, on Instagram, you guys can post them too. We've got my crew kind of looking behind that. Timing. Timing is it. So they're mentally prepared. Every single, if you guys are going to take notes, I'm not going to hit any shots today. This is all about you and your brain. This is an amazing webinar to scribble notes. So if you're going to write notes, right, and I'm going to draw on our board here, the one thing that all tour players have is they have inconsistent swings that they have made perfectly consistent. So what I mean by that is right around the corner right here, we have a robot. Like a robot who you have your hands on a club and it swings you the way that it should be swung based upon perfect physics. There is not one single person on tour or on planet Earth that swings like a robot except for the robot. And I need to name the robot because I don't have a name for it, but I got to think of a name, right? So they have made their inconsistent swings perfectly consistent. I could go through every single model inside this tour, inside these TrackMan models of Zach Johnson, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and pick out 4 to 5 things wrong with every single one of their swings when compared to a robot. So I want to share and take you guys over here, and I want you to look at this because I need you guys to believe in what it is. I'm going to take the camera, and for the Instagram people, try to kind of watch up on the screen here. So this is Zach Johnson, right? I'm going to give you a couple examples. Zach Johnson on the right is hitting a driver. On the left, he is hitting a pitching wedge. Now, when you watch this, if you can kind of see this, he is going to start the swing at the exact, I'm moving it. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I am moving it, and he is starting the swing at the exact same time, and he makes impact at the exact same time. That's Zach Johnson with a pitching wedge and with a driver. But what if you were to go to like Zach Johnson with a 6-iron, right? You're going to see, like if I go to 6-iron right here, right? You're going to see that it's the same exact thing. It starts at the same time, and he hits the ball at the same time. And it's not just Zach Johnson, right? Like you can let's just look at like Tony Finau, right? Every single one of these guys, if I go to driver and then I compare Tony's driver to Tony's 6-iron, what you're going to see is that if you look at this, which is 6-iron goes 222, which is insane. But if you see this, he starts the club at the same exact time, and then he hits the ball at the same exact time. So the truth is like if you look at the players and you look at tour players, they all share the same exact time on every single one of their swings. And the amateur golfer doesn't. And what really brought this to fruition is when I had my buddy Troy come in like a week ago, right? So Troy comes in and he's been kind of, working on getting lessons, and he sits here and he's like, man, I'm really struggling, Kyle. This ball goes 5 yards with an iron, right? Like poor guy. Like he's like, I literally have like the yips. But when you look at this and you compare it to like another swing that he had, what you can see is that when he did this, like this one goes 160, the other one goes 5. Look at how the difference, like his club head is all the way up here and the other one is down here. The swings, like if you were tracing the swings are the same and they hit the ball at the same time. But the amount of time that it takes for the swing to actually take place is radically different. So what happens, and this happened to me. So I go, and some of you guys might have heard this on the Stock Shot. What's the podcast called? Stock Shot Secrets. There's a lot of stock shots. Stock Shot Secrets. And I was talking about the U.S. Open. And I go to the U.S. Open, and I'm playing. I hit it okay. I have one bad swing the entire day. I mean, really bad, right? I had a bunch of shots that were like 4 to 7s. And I have one shot that was bad, and it was on the 15th hole. And you're going to hear about this later, but it wasn't a technical thing. It was a me problem. So what I want to do is I want to draw this for you so that you guys can understand. Okay. So I'm going to draw this tree. This is my tree. Okay. We might need to move this a little closer so they can see it. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe a little closer. There you go. Okay. So this is the tree. And we're going to call it, this is what I have for it right now. It's so new, I haven't even thought about a name. But you guys can maybe help me name it. That would be amazing. It's called the Tree of Timing. Okay? Now, the Tree of Timing is what every single one of you guys is after. You guys, when you guys walk through the golf room or you send an email at the golf room everywhere, and I say, or I call you for a VIP application, and I say, why are you here? Why are we talking? Why are you getting a lesson? You say, I want to be more consistent. What that actually means is that you want to have more timing. You want a swing that's maybe not reliant on timing, right? But all swings are reliant on timing. Every single one of them. You cannot have a swing that is not reliant on timing. It's just the way it is. That's why golf is a sport. If it wasn't a sport and it didn't require timing, it'd be like a science experiment. It's not. It's a sport. So all golf swings come with timing. Now, in the essence of timing, when you have good timing, there are 3 things that drip down. And I got to stop here and I got to pause because where this all came from, the origination of this, is my team, as you guys might know, like Mike Bender was my swing coach, Stan Utley was my putting coach, James Seekman was my short game coach, and the team, the incredible team from Vision 54 with Pia Nielsen and Lynn Marriott were my mental coaches. And this stuff, right, the terms that we're going to be using, a lot of this stuff came from them. What I have done is thought and prayed and chewed on it to make it basically a funnel so that you can start to prioritize what are the things that you need to do to maximize your potential. And I promise if you stick with me till the end, I don't know how long this is going to go. They usually go an hour. I might go 5 hours. I might go 15 minutes, but just stick with me. I promise you will have a light bulb go off. I hope, because I've talked about this twice and everyone I've talked about it so far is like, yes, that makes so much sense and so helpful. Okay. So in the tree of timing, right? When you have good timing, and you guys kind of talked about this, you have three things. You have great balance, you have great tempo, and you have great tension awareness, right? Those are the things to have good timing. These things need to be in place. If you are swinging out of balance, you can't have good timing. If you have a lot of tension in your shoulders, in your jaw, if you're stressed out, you're not going to have good timing, right? If you have great tempo, right? Tempo kind of talking like also like in rhythm, like the tempo that Zach's swing, the time of Zach's swing and the tempo was the same tempo over and over and over again. And if you think about this in every other sport, that is the difference between playing good in a championship and not playing good in a championship. You have a team that goes to the Final Four and they've been on a heater for like a month and they go to the Final Four and all of a sudden they can't shoot. Why? Did the dude forget how to shoot? No. His timing is off. The team is out of whack. Same thing with football. Same thing with baseball. Same thing with tennis. It doesn't matter the sport. They're all reliant around timing. And the truth is there's all these things down here, which we're going to talk about, which impact this. So now the question becomes, what happens and what changes throughout the round, or what changes to make someone have a different swing? You're going to the range this weekend. You're going to warm up on Saturday before your round. You're going to go out on the course and hit it like trash on the second hole and go, I don't know where my swing went. It's here. I suck again. Right? Like, and you're going to feel, this is what they say, like, you're going to feel like you're making a different swing. Some water. You're going to feel like you're making a different swing, but you're not making a different swing. You're making the same swing. If I go over there to Troy and I put a silhouette over Troy's swing, they look the exact same. There is no difference, not one single iota, but they have dramatically different results. 5 yards versus 160 yards. I want to quit golf. I love golf, and I'm going to beg my wife to play 4 days a week, right? So the question is why?
Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they're coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets.
So now you go and play. So the question is, and I want you to think about this, what makes your swing change? Does your equipment change in a round? No, it does not. Does your body change? Like, do I all of a sudden become stronger and like pick up 20 miles an hour of club head speed in the midst of a round? No, I do not. Does your swing change? You think it changes, but it does not. And those who are with us inside the golf room and the golf room everywhere, you guys are hopefully realizing now that changing your swing and actually making substantial changes where your stuff actually changes takes time. You cannot fix your swing in 5 days. And if a pro is telling you that, they're a liar, right? It's like working out with your body. When your swing changes, it's just like your body. Like you work out for 3 weeks, your body feels a little bit different. After 2 months, you're like, wow. Like 3 months, you're like, your wife's like, man, you look good. You look good, right? So the point is that your swing doesn't change, but there is something that changes all throughout the round. I change. Kyle changes. John changes. Tony changes. Dominic changes. Josh changes. Pete changes. Mitch changes. And you have to understand why you're changing. Because through the round of golf, right, your body and you are changing, and the nutrients that are coming in, and we're going to talk about this, and all of those things end up changing your balance, tempo, and tension awareness. And that's one, so now it's a matter that the question is, and I want to pose it back into you guys, right, is what are the things, so if you've got this and you've got this root system, right, all these roots are feeding the trunk. They're feeding the tree so that the tree has great balance, tempo, and tension awareness, so that you have great timing, so that you finally, for the love of Jesus, play up to your level of potential. I'm sitting here. I just got done playing in a Pro-Am for the Memorial, and I'm sitting there talking to a tour player, and he's like, yeah, no offense if there's any Academy kids on here. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. And he goes, hey, you're Academy kids. Wow, they really stripe it. Those kids probably should beat me. And I go, but they won't. Why? Because you know how to play golf. They don't. Right? Like your timing, and when we talk about playing golf, that's the down here. Your timing is better than their timing. Okay? So, excuse me one second. The question is that I want to pose to you guys is, in the round, in life, what are the things that influence me or you in the round of a course of a day that change you? I mean, where do you start? That is like everything from like an eclipse in the sky to like, but what are they? Like beer. Beer's a good one. We're going to talk about beer, Rich. Like that might be stress, fatigue. What else? Nerves, frustration after a bad shot. Any other ones? Attitude. See one more. Breathing, weather. All great. Hydration. So you're 100% correct. So the first thing that we're going to write down here is we're going to use, which you hear us talk a lot about, we're going to say the first one is think box. So here's why. What you guys do, the think box, for those that don't know, maybe on Instagram, you never heard us say this, like if you're not in Stock Shot Club or whatever, which you should be. Think box is what you're doing before the shot, right? So in this, right, I'm going to show you guys this because I think it's pretty cool. Let me put on my sweet ninja hat. Okay, so check this out. Hold on one sec. Okay, so you guys see this? So see how it's red? And now it's green. And it's red. And now it's green. Okay? What this is measuring your prefrontal cortex and your motor cortex. So the red is what we use in the think box. That's where we use all logic. Your prefrontal cortex can process 40 messages a second. So in the think box, if you're having writing, there's 4 questions that you ask yourself. How is my lie? Where do I want to land it? What's the loft or trajectory and what club? So what happens with you guys when you play is you guys get out of the cart, you shoot the pin, you go, it's 150, perfect 9-iron. You grab your 9-iron, you walk up, probably don't really take a practice swing, maybe you kind of do, but you walk up and then you stand over and you go, feels like there's a little bit of wind in my face. I think I should swing a little bit harder. So you are trying to make a swing that's indecisive because you're not committed to the swing. So because of this, that essentially, that indecision creates tension, which messes up your tempo and balance, and therefore creates bad timing. And then you hit a bad shot and you're like, I need a lesson. It's like, no, man, you just need to ask more questions. You shoot it, but you don't ask, where do I want to land it? What's the wind? What club? It's 150. 10 miles an hour into the wind, which is like a flag that's going like this. That's not that much. 10 miles an hour into the wind, the ball will play 162.8 yards. 12 yards into the wind for 10 miles an hour. That's not that much. And I can guarantee you that if you go to weatherchannel.com, you will never, ever, 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 ever see the Weather Channel say that the wind is 0. It's always doing something. And even if it's 5 miles an hour, that's still like 4 or 5 yards. That is the difference between plugging it in the front bunker and hitting the green. And it doesn't matter what your handicap level is, that still has to be considered, right? So now you've got think box, right? Now, what about at the bottom here, which really is like the essence of what we're trying to get to? The whole thing, which I'm going to come back to this, is play box. But then what about spirit of the game? Okay. Spirit of the game is a very big one. So it's like if I'm sitting there and I'm asking you guys on a VIP call and I go, hey, like you seem pretty serious about wanting to get better. Why? Why do you want to get better? Like, why are you here? Right? I know for me specifically, I was in Cancun I would try to go Monday qualify for the Mayakoba Classic. This is like in 2014. I got off. I missed the qualifier, and I was getting on a plane to fly to Santiago, Chile to play in a tournament. Santiago, Chile, like that place is amazing. I get onto the tarmac, like onto the step thing. I think it's called tarmac or terminal or whatever. And I turn around and I felt my stomach. I'm like, my spirit of the game. Like, I actually don't think I love golf right now. And that's okay. You can love golf, but at certain times not be in love with golf, right? Just like you can always love your wife, but maybe not every time you're always every single second of the day in love with your wife. You can always love your kids, but like when they're screaming and you're frustrated, you might not be at that specific moment in love with your kids. There's a difference. So spirit of the game, like, are you excited to play golf, or are you just doing it to do it? Everyone probably, for the majority of us on this webinar, we probably are playing golf and really enjoying it, right? But it's like, what are your goals? Like, how are you doing it because you're happy? I was in a Bible study with Tom Lehman in Scottsdale, and he goes, Kyle, how long are you on a golf course today? I'm like, about 10 hours. He goes, don't you think you should be happy all that time, bro? I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good point. If you're not happy, then don't do it, right? So there's spirit of the game. What about, this is a good one for everyone. What about managing your adrenaline levels? Right? What was the guy's term? He said there was some term which was kind of inappropriate, so I'm not going to say it, but it was something a guy made a birdie today and then he blew one out of bounds, and like it was like there was a saying of like, oh, you do something after you make a birdie, or like your bounce back, right? Like you have to manage your adrenaline levels throughout the day. Like when Brooks Koepka was won at Whistling Straits, he hit a 3-wood off 18 that went 340. And he said, when I swung that 3-wood on 18, I was trying to swing it at 40%. But that's because he was managing his adrenaline levels at that moment, and his 40% was like 90%. I remember Kevin Streelman said the same thing when he won in Tampa. Like, you have to be aware of where your adrenaline levels are throughout a round of golf. So when I'm going and I play in that like US Open event like last month, my whole day is basically set in a state of, I don't know if this will play, in a state of like breathing. Like I'm basically on a 4-hour meditation. It's not going to show, but like a 4-hour meditation of breathing to manage my adrenaline levels in the course of these rounds. Now, Are you going to be like super stressed out when you're playing with your buddies on like a Saturday 1 o'clock game? Probably not. Right? But the long and short of it is when we say this, right? And when we get into some of these things, like some of them are going to be more geared towards when you're playing your member, you're on your guy's trip, there's something stressful on the line. But some of these, you guys, and this is why I wanted everyone to be here, we do a lot of playing lessons right now. And unfortunately, no one's really that good with this stuff. But this is what's going to allow you to play to your full potential. So you have adrenaline. What about in between shots? You know, like we have people that'll be like, I'm not playing good because the people I'm playing with suck. And it's like, or like, you know, he's a jerk off and like, I don't have fun. And it's like, or it's too slow, right? Like the guy I was playing with today was a member at Conway Farms. He's like, if you play slow at Conway Farms, you literally get like kicked out of the club. So the point being is like, what happens when you're with a guy or there's a slow round? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people out here that play at public golf courses. Those rounds take forever. So how are you going to deal with that to play good in between shots? Because listen, when you play a round of golf and it's 5 hours long, you hit a shot for 1 minute. 1 minute is an actual actionable item. You play golf, if you include ThinkBox, for 24 to 27 minutes. So that means you have 4.5 hours where you need to learn how to put your mind on vacation, right? Where you need to learn, like, what are you going to do in between shots to occupy your brain and make it so that in your brain, you have you have a lot of chemicals, but you have two, like we'll say, main chemicals for all intents and purposes. You have DHEA and you have cortisol. DHEA is what makes you feel super, super happy. Cortisol is what makes you want to wrap your clubs around a tree. When your cortisol levels get above your DHEA levels, it takes 8 hours for those puppies to reset. Which is why you go to bed and you go, I hate golf. And then you wake up and you go, sweetheart, can I play today? Right? So you have to figure out ways in between shots with all this stuff. And this was one of my affirmations and goals when I played, is you need to finish the round with higher levels of DHEA than you started with, regardless of outcome. So if you decide to make a double bogey on the first hole, you have to learn how to like manage your focus so that you can continue to feel a sense of gratitude while playing golf, because you feel what you focus on. If you focus on the negativity, you will feel like trash. Therefore, you will play like trash. Make sense? Okay. So with that same thing, let's talk about self-talk.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. I would love to invite you to Columbus to come see me and hang out with me and build a personalized plan for you and your game. If you would want more information about building your personalized plan and coming to Columbus and hanging out, just email us at info@thegolfroom.com and we will get back to you and set your visit for an epic red carpet experience at TGR in Columbus, Ohio.